I kind of now that you mention about dogs sort of getting in the way or possibly interrupting, um, I still have my dog was Jeff. We lost him at Easter time. I'm still really sad about it, and so I've got his bed still at my feet when I work during the day, and so I used to love it for podcasts because that's just you'd hang out sitting at my feet while I chatted to someone from somewhere around the world. And so at times like this, when people say, "Oh, I'm sorry, my dog's interrupting," I go, "Nah, man, just go for your life." Dogs interrupting is like kids interrupting. There'll eventually come a time when they stop, and you miss that interruption.
Mm. To be honest, with work meetings, I'd rather listen to people's dogs and or kids.
Right. Yeah. Good point. Um, that's a nice sort of segue into things because I realize we virtually don't know each other at all, which is the fun bit about this podcast because we've got some conceptions that we may have developed over the internet, and now we actually get to find out how many of those are true and what makes you interesting. So, what makes you interesting right now is what do you do for work?
I'm a software engineer.
That's less interesting than I hoped.
Sorry.
Damn it. Oh, so how did you get into all of that? Was that your lifelong dream to play with computers or?
Oh, pretty much. I don't really remember how. I was just always interested in it. My mum bought me books that were intended to teach kids how to write computer programs in a language called BASIC. Um, which
Oh, okay. So that's so now I'm getting a reference on how old you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I started. We didn't have a computer, but I would write code on paper, and then when I found a computer I could run it on, I would type it in and run it. And it wouldn't be anything advanced, just add two numbers together, print out James is awesome on the monitor or whatever. But um, yeah, ever since then I've been involved in some sort of computer programming in some way or another.
How old were you when you were doing all that, like writing your own code?
About 6 or 7.
Really? Wow, that young.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, it wasn't anything advanced. It was not something that you couldn't pick up if you had access to do it. But yeah,
I like how you say not really advanced. I think 6 or 7 year olds writing anything is tends to be fairly advanced. Let alone code that can take like just that idea of being able to manipulate the abstract at such a young age. That's what impresses me. I think that's highly advanced
I mean,
because we're
yeah,
very concrete up until now. We look at a tree and we write tree, and you're manipulating your digital world from an early age.
that's right.
Yeah. Um, so where did that take you? Sort of through high school and university then?
Yeah, well, I applied for a computer science software development degree at Deakin and got in. So I did the degree. Was halfway through an honours thesis when I got offered a job as a systems and network admin at a small local ISP when that used to be a thing that existed in Australia. Um, so I took that job, um, moved on and did some other systems admin, programming, all rounder type jobs, um, some jobs that involved security, computer security, not physical security. And yeah, ended up the last couple of jobs I've done have been more probably general software engineering.
Right. What does a typical day look like for you?
Um, hmm. Get up, um, eat breakfast, feed the dogs.
Mm.
Feed the dogs before I eat breakfast, obviously. Um,
Because you're a good, responsible owner.
yes, and
Yes.
I don't want to have them barking at me and demanding that I feed them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So generally, I like to start early in the morning
Hmm.
and get any big brain work done early before other people are up and potentially interrupting and asking me to do other things. Um, and then after that, I'll get working on sort of ticket work like build this feature, fix this bug, whatever. Um, there'll usually be some reviewing of work from my teammates. Um, because whenever we make a change, we put in what's called a merge request, where someone else will look at the code and look at the specific change that's being made and um, review that against what the change is supposed to do and see whether it does it and whether it does it in a way that's good and not going to cause more problems down the road. And if so, it gets approved. And if all the automated tests and stuff pass, then it becomes part of the code base.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So I want to go back. You said
Yeah.
ticket. You said ticket work before, and like I've heard that phrase for a really long time now.
Mhm.
And most of actually every time right up until right now, I always just go, yep, ticket work. Yep.
Yeah.
What the hell is ticket work? I realize I have no idea what you're talking about when you say that.
Well, it could involve different things in different jobs, but um, most generally, it would involve a ticket is really just a way to track a unit of work. So,
Right. So
um,
is it like a something that pops up somewhere, like, or is it a metaphorical ticket, or is it a literal thing, or
it's metaphorical for us because we don't like print them out and hand them to people physically, but it'll usually be, say, an item on a list in a web browser.
oh, okay.
And it opens up and it says, when I do this and that, then it gives me an error and it shouldn't do that. It should instead do this. And it'll be assigned to a particular person. It will have been requested by a particular person. It might have a priority level. It might be connected to other tickets saying that, this is related to that and that needs to be done before that and that sort of thing.
Okay, that makes sense. So kind of like ticket work in the old way, if it was a a physical trade, somebody would have actually walked up and put a ticket or like a fault sign on something, and
Right. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, that makes total sense to me now. I've always it's one of those phrases that um, I'm always a little bit embarrassed to ask about. Like when I go, I have actually no concept what I know what exists is stuff like doing like talking to a plumber about what do you actually do during the day, because I have no idea what plumbers do other than when the plumber comes to my house and sticks this weird machine down my toilet and pulls roots out. Um, I would have no idea what an average day looks like for most other occupations, and um, yeah, so that's interesting. You've been doing this for a long time, or?
Yeah. I started working full time in 2004,
Hmm.
and yeah, like I'd done little bits of paid work before that, but um, yeah, working full time in some similar role to that since 2004.
Gotcha. So 2004. Whereabouts did powerlifting start to enter the scene for you?
Well, I'd always played sports since I was a kid. Started with basketball because, believe it or not, at the time when I was sort of 8 to 13 years old, I was tall for my age and was reasonable at basketball.
How
Sort of
tall? How tall are you now?
173 centimeters,
So
and I
what's that?
didn't
Is that like
5
five?
8 9 something like that,
Right. Right.
and I wasn't much shorter than that at 13.
Oh, right. You're one of the. Did you like through high school and primary school? Did you like start middle back and then just start
Mhm.
drifting out of the picture?
Yeah, I was pretty much always back row until year eight. Year eight, I was middle row, and then I stayed middle row for a while, and then by year 12, I was front row.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. Yeah. I think everybody has a friend that did that through high school,
Yeah,
except for you because you were that guy.
yeah,
Um, all right. So you played basketball.
yeah. I'd always played cricket and baseball since I was 9, 10 years old. Um,
Ah,
Switched
man.
from cricket to summer baseball
Uh huh.
uh, in about my mid 20s. Yeah, mid 20s. I was a bit better at baseball and opportunity came up. Took up BJJ in my mid 20s, but I never had any sort of strength and conditioning base. Um, so eventually, in my early 30s, injuries started catching up, and I got patellar tendonitis, and went through a few physios before I found one who looked at it under ultrasound imaging and said, I know exactly what this is and I know exactly how to fix it and I can do it right now for you. So I said, yes, please. And he injected a shitload of saline and cortisone into my knee and it felt like he was pouring concrete into it. And my knee blew up like a softball, but it did the trick. And but he also said to me, here's a strength program. If you do not follow this program, you'll be back here for more of the same in about 12 weeks.
Huh.
So that meant I had to find a gym and someone to show me what to do because I'd never been in a gym before. So I found a local gym that was run by a guy I knew from BJJ, and they hooked me up with a PT, and she started me off squatting. And at that stage, I could only squat 2 kilo dumbbells. That was
Right. Was that just from pain?
pain and I guess not familiarity with the movement and needing to trust my knee. I mean, I'm sure if I'd totally blocked out the pain and not cared about doing the movement correctly, I probably could have done it a bit heavier. But yeah, I think that was a good place to start where I was. At that stage, I was 104 kilos and not particularly muscular.
Hmm.
Um, Gradually progressed to squatting with the barbell and added in bench and deadlifts and some conventional sort of accessories. Lost a bunch of weight and gained a lot of muscle at the same time. Um, and That PT, Sam, she eventually left the gym and left the fitness industry for a while. Now she runs a local gym in Bannockburn, which is a small town outside Geelong.
Hmm.
Um, so I was training on my own for a while and decided I wasn't getting anywhere. So I tried out Strong Geelong and started with a coach named Jamie Bissett. He's not doing that anymore. Like him and Tyson, I don't know if you know Tyson Morrissey, they founded Strong Geelong together. They were mates from school. Jamie since sold his interest in the gym, but yeah, at the time he was one of the coaches at Strong Geelong, and he taught me how to low bar squat and all that because I was interested in powerlifting from Sam, my previous PT, because she'd done a couple of competitions in the BDFPA, the Victorian Drug Free Powerlifting Association.
Drug free. Is that who were they lined up with worldwide?
They were affiliated with the ADFPF, who were affiliated with the WDFPF,
Oh,
but
world drug.
there was some sort of
Is that
drama.
the? Did they used to have a bicep curl component? Is that mob,
No,
or is
but
that's 100% raw?
100% raw, who
Yeah.
BDFPA ended up affiliating with because
Right.
they left ADFPF over some drama that I don't really understand. And they were independent for a couple of years, and then 2017, which is the year I started, they affiliated with 100% Raw, and 100% Raw had strict curl. But
Yeah,
BDFPA
that
was
just that blows my mind. That one, that
yeah,
Fed and the Fed dramas is how we actually first started talking back in 2018, and I'll come back around to that because
sure.
Fed dramas are it's drama, isn't it? It's like
Mm,
days of our lives. Um, so strong Geelong is where you got started in powerlifting.
correct.
Yeah, is that where David Trankong is?
No, he's at a different gym called Be Strong Fitness Geelong.
Oh,
It's
okay, that's
in Lara, which is right out the outer northern suburbs of Geelong.
hmm
Uh, yeah, they've got a crew of surprising number of equipped lifters, including himself, obviously. And I've been there a few times to learn the ins and outs of equipment. But yeah, different gyms in Strong Geelong.
Yeah, okay. So I got confused by the everybody using the word strong in the same town.
Yeah,
Um, yeah, I think David is a magnificent guy to learn from,
yeah, absolutely.
especially given who like. And I think you'd appreciate this coming from BJJ. I love talking about coaching lineage. Like, who did you learn from, and who did they learn from?
Yep.
And David just has this beautiful lineage through the sport with guys like Stephen Pritchard, Sean Bostock, uh, Paul Tesorio, all these big benches. And then, of course, then you got the connection to Dave Park and Marty Gervin, and Marty Gervin learned directly from Louis Simmons.
Wow.
So you got this very, very clear path from the guy that was doing it to the guy that's still delivering it, and I really, that always impresses me about those Melbourne guys, that it's a very clear pathway back to Louis Simmons. So you're getting pretty authentic
Mm.
message. Um, Back to Strong Geelong. Uh, Sam was doing, was it ADFPPDFA?
Yeah, the alphabet soup. Yeah,
Yeah,
she did a couple of VDFPA comps. As far as I think she did too. And at some point, she said, "Oh, you might be able to do this." And I thought, I don't know if I can, but she says I can, so let's give it a go. And yeah, that was the intention of going to a Strong Geelong, that I would learn how to low bar squat, because that's what all the powerlifters were doing. And because I'd only high bar squatted before, and yeah, my squat was lagging behind, and I thought, here's a way to potentially squat a bit more, and that did prove to be the case. So I went to Strong Geelong in about September 2016, and did my first comp in January 2017, which was the novice comp organised by VDFPA. There were 4 lifters. We were actually outnumbered by the volunteers.
hey, that was my first few comps as well, back in
Yeah,
the 2000s. Yeah,
yeah. I think from memory, I mean, you can pull it up in open powerlifting, but I squatted 140, bench 92.5, and deadlift 200, and weighed 78 kilos at the time, which I was reasonably happy with. Um, yeah, did another comp, did a novice comp that was organised by Strong Geelong, um, and then did a sanctioned VDFPA comp, which was technically a single lift comp, but you could enter squat, bench, and deadlift separately. So that's what I did.
yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to back it up a little bit. You said at your first comp you were 78 kilos, but when
Yeah.
you were doing BJJ, you were 104 kilos.
I think the last BJJ comp I did, I was about 92. When I got
Right.
injured, I just gained a few kilos, but yeah, I was heavier then.
Wow, that's a big transformation.
Yeah. Mm.
Um, and then, all right, let's go back to them baseball. What was your playing weight at baseball?
Oh, hard to say, because it was over such a long period. I think I would have the heaviest would have been low hundreds. I think.
Right. Position were you playing?
Primarily pitching,
Mm-hmm.
bit of third base, bit of outfield.
Tell us about the pitching.
Um,
So
something
I should tell you, I loved it. I grew up playing baseball as well.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
Huge fan. Still a lifetime San Francisco Giants fan. Every time I was in the States, I'd always get a game in. Um, and I just don't have enough people I can talk baseball with. It's
Yeah. Well,
so
yeah,
you
it's
were
not.
so you're a pitcher. What sort of pitcher were you?
Um, I mean, I tried to throw hard. Um, I guess at the level that I played, which was not a high level, I threw reasonably hard, I guess. Had a pretty good curveball.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I struck out a few ex-Australian players with that when they were well past their prime. I should point out.
Never point that out. Just drop their name so baseball fans are impressed and go, yeah, move on.
Yeah, as well as a few kids that later went on to play college and minor league ball, stuff like that. Um, yeah, I realised at some point when I was a kid I had a reasonably good arm, so yeah, used it.
Yeah, nice. Very
And even
nice.
better up to field elsewhere when I was pitching.
Yeah, I used to play first base and third base mostly. I was always really jealous of pitchers because you guys were having way more fun out there than we were.
Mm-hmm.
How was it for you when you gave up baseball, and how hard was it to give up? Because, like you said, injuries, but with what else came with baseball for you?
Well, I guess the community and the routine and tradition, because I'd always done it.
Mm.
It was just what I did. In the end, it wasn't as hard as I might have thought because I found that I tried to come back to baseball after the injuries, and I did with varying degrees of success. But I found that a lot of the time I was training or playing baseball, I was thinking about lifting.
Huh, that's telling, isn't it?
When there was slack time, which there is a lot of, which is another reason why I sort of gravitated to lifting. There's not that much of that. To train a team sport, there's a lot of time spent, I guess, doing things in service of other individuals getting their training in, which of
Mm-hmm.
course they have to do, but it means that everyone who's training is only getting maybe a few minutes worth of value out of a 2 hour session. And then,
Yeah, I'd never thought about it like that. Like looking back, you what batting practice? You get how many swings? But you'd be there for an hour and a half,
mm,
right? Yeah.
yeah, and a lot of the rest of the time you're just fielding balls that other people are hitting.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go back to coming. Sorry. Where did we get up to? So baseball. Oh yeah. So you got a favorite player, or you follow the major league still, or
Um, I would like to follow the major league, but it's too time consuming.
right?
I tend to watch just YouTube highlight videos like, Pitching Ninja.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah, like to watch the Pitching Ninja. Shohei Otani obviously is going to be a lot of people's favorite, and yeah, he's amazing. Growing up, I never thought we'd see another player who could pitch and be a regular position player at the same time, like Babe Ruth was, and like the best kid on your junior team is.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, he's doing it. Um, yeah, I always like to see pitchers who throw filthy breaking balls and 100-mile-an-hour fastballs. Aroldis Chapman, Paul Skeens, Otani, as I said,
Mm-hmm.
Tarek Skubal, those guys.
Historical favorite pitcher?
Historical. Greg Maddux is up there. Nolan Ryan.
I love the quotes that been coming out the last few years about players that faced Maddox, and some of the Maddox stats just they crack me up. Just crack me up, especially the way he spoke about himself. That he goes, oh. And what was the other one about Greg Maddux? He was calling his own pitches for about the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was really impressed with that. But yeah, anyway, so Maddox. Who else did you say?
Nolan Ryan.
Nolan Ryan. Yeah.
The fact that he could still throw over 90 miles an hour into his mid 40s is unbelievable. And
Yeah. Do you
throwing
know he's got?
pitches a game.
You know he's got like the second fastest first pitch
Yeah,
before a game as well.
yeah. I think the only one faster is Ichiro.
Yeah, that's right. And Ichiro was still playing at the time.
Yeah, or he was either still playing or he was recently retired, whereas Nolan Ryan had been retired for like 15 years.
Yeah. Yeah, like I think he was mid 50s and throwing 96-mile-an-hour fastball.
Yeah.
And I bet you he didn't warm up.
Mm.
Yeah, madman.
Yeah. He
Um,
used to. We lived in America for a few months, and when I was a kid, and he was
oh,
on
did you?
the yeah in '91. He was on the commercials for Advil, the
Hmm.
relief medication. He always used to say, "Take an Advil, my muscle aches are long gone."
Yeah, right. I was always a massive fan of Randy Johnson.
Yep.
Um, he just looked permanently angry and pissed off and trying to kill people.
Yep.
Was it you had that? I can't remember what year the All Star game with John Kruk where he threw over his head and Kruk just waved at the next three to get the hell out of there.
Yep.
Yeah, that's fun. So your first few comps were with the Alphabet Fed. Uh,
Yep.
at what point did you start joining in with a more mainstream federation?
Um, Mid 2017. Um, yeah, I'd been to watch one of the GPC comps that my teammates were doing at PTC headquarters,
Hmm.
and I thought the monos and the knee wraps were pretty cool, um, as well as the way they ran the event looked very professional.
Hmm.
They had amazing equipment, including the warm up area, the spotting and loading crews. Um, Obviously, were very skilled and very well practiced. And it was probably the first time I'd seen spotting and loading that didn't look like unskilled labour. A
Yeah.
lot of kids tend to treat it like they got through 4 flights of lifting in, I think, 6.5 hours.
Yeah, that's pretty. That's it. That's fast. That's
Yeah,
good.
when Spiros was back spotting, and that comp, I saw him catch a guy who tore both hamstrings unracking a 300 kilo squat.
Oh,
One of the most impressive things I'd ever seen at anywhere. So I thought, yeah, this is pretty cool. And my teammates are competing there. My coach is competing there. Um, and they didn't have any sort of rules about uh, what other feds you can compete with, and
hmm,
because VDFBA did, and they didn't have any dramas around. Oh, we'd never run a comp at this gym because we think that that guy's on steroids and all that sort of drama. Yeah, I wasn't interested in any of that anymore. So
yeah,
thought I'll compete GPC. I still helped out with VDFPA because at that point I'd become their record keeper and website guy and ran the score table a lot of their comps. So I kept doing that even though I wasn't a member anymore. But yeah, from that point, I was competing in GPC primarily.
yeah. Right. Okay. Um, sorry, I just I had a thought, but then I lost it. I hate it when that happens. Uh, where were we? So up to 2017, Spiros, blah blah blah. Oh yeah, the Spiros thing. That's what I was thinking about. Like, what did that look like? Can you describe that setup? Because that's kind of I don't think I've ever seen footage of it, but what I'm imagining is just somebody sort of legs dropping out from underneath them.
I think he, I think he fell back.
Right.
I think he fell back. Spiros caught him and sort of lifted him back into the rack.
And just picked just a man and 300 kilos back in the rack.
Yeah, I
Pretty
mean the
just bear
size of
hugging it.
caught the weight as well, but
Yep.
yeah, more or less.
Wow. Okay. And so was it? Do you know what the injury was? That you said torn hamstrings. Was it from what? Like as he lifted it out and just went?
I asked the lifter afterwards, and I think he said something like they were bad going in, but he tried to lift anyway, and then he did it
Eesh.
properly.
Yeah, right. Wow, that's nuts. Absolutely nuts. So you saw that, thought, all right, that still looks cool, which says a lot about your character. Uh, Yay, the chaos. Let's join in.
Yeah,
So
well, if you can
where did you go from there?
catch what I'm squatting.
Sorry,
I said if you can catch that, you can definitely catch what I'm
you
squatting.
just gone. Yeah, fair. I didn't look at it that way. Yeah, um, yeah. No, at my first competition, I almost ripped my hip out of its socket, and put a lot of people off coming back to any more powerlifting competitions. But it didn't put me off at all. So I wonder how many people in the crowd saw that and gone, "Oh, Spiros is here. That makes me feel safe." Versus the other people that saw it and just saw somebody having to be caught and going, "Oh shit, I'm out of here."
Hmm.
Um, I think that's possibly a real good filtering effect for people that are going to stick around in the sport.
Hmm.
So if we can just sacrifice one person per comp, all right. um, what was your trajectory then through GPC for the next few years?
Um, just competing occasionally, gradually improving. I mean, I've never been lifting at any real high level, um, but around 2018, uh, I became a ref with GPC.
Mm-hmm.
And that was partially because we had a lot of lifters at Strong Geelong who were competing in GPC, and they had the 24-hour weigh-ins, which meant that if people wanted to weigh in the day before, which everybody wanted to do for obvious reasons, they had to travel across the other side of Melbourne and back and then do it again the next day for the comp. But what we worked out with GPC was if as long as we had calibrated scales and referees, then we could run weigh-ins at Geelong and just send the weigh-in information to Marcos when because he
Mm-hmm.
was running comps. And I'd already dabbled in refereeing a little bit with VDFPA, like for a few lifts when someone had to go to the toilet or something.
Mm-hmm.
So myself and another guy, yeah, we qualified as referees in 2018 and been refing ever since.
Oh well, cool. What do you like about refereeing? Because I noticed you put a lot of social media content out around refereeing and spotting and those kind of things,
Mm.
and it's always just so sensible and practical. Which I think a lot of people that I've spoken to about you always say you just seem so sensible and practical. Um, so
Um,
how do you translate that from? Is that how you are throughout the rest of your life, and that just appears in your refereeing, or is that something that you really sort of make sure you're focused on?
um, I guess I think it's how I am for the rest of my
Yeah.
life. I try and do things the right way, and I try and think a lot about what the right way to do things would be. And when I see someone doing things a different way, I think and maybe ask them why they do it that way. And sometimes I figure out a better way to do things based on what they're doing.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sensible and practical.
But
Sensible and
as
practical.
far as refereeing goes, I like to. I feel like I have an eye for detail and a good memory for rules and procedures,
Hmm.
and so I figure it's a reasonably natural fit. And I like to. I feel like I'm more invested in getting the decision right than caring about the outcome of the lift, which I think is kind of essential. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's what it is, I guess.
I'm just going to take a break for a couple of minutes. I'm going to stop recording and then we'll start it up again when I get back.
Yeah, sure.
And yeah, all right, cool. So we're back on again. That that's, what you said about getting the decision right in refereeing. Um,
Mm.
I I can't recall hearing that very often over the years, which baffles me. amongst referees, and it is one of the frustrations that led me to getting involved in refereeing as well at a higher level. Um, there seems to be a lot of focus on like the lift itself, which I think you're correct in saying it is a distraction. So the outcome of the lift isn't really what we should be focused on, right?
Yeah, I mean, other than in reference to whether or not the decision was correct.
Yeah, right. Talk us through that a bit. I think it'll be a position that some people find a little bit confronting. So, do you care to explain like your philosophy of refereeing then?
Um, well, I mean, basically, um, okay, here's a good way to explain it. If I am, let's say, side refereeing squats and there's 15 lifters in the flight and 15 lifters squat high and I give 15 red lights, I'm happy
Yeah.
because I've made 15 good decisions.
Yep. Yep.
If any of them did squat to depth or didn't do anything else to merit a red light and I still gave them a red light, well then I wouldn't be happy.
How do you feel when you hear people say, "Well, at least they're consistent"?
Um, I wonder whether they're consistently correct or not.
Well, yeah, it seems to be how people defend poor refereeing when it's overly harsh. Like, oh, well, that person whose depth is an inch or two lower than everyone else's, and then they call everybody who's right on depth. They call them give them a red card, but we tend to go, oh, well, that's okay, and give them a pass because they go, well, they're consistently bad.
Hmm. No.
Right? It sounds absurd when you place it next to your philosophy of how many times did I make the right call? Like,
Yeah, I mean, I guess if they're consistently wrong, then maybe maybe they're teachable in the sense that their perception is accurate, but their understanding of the rule is not. Maybe.
yeah, that's generous. Yeah, maybe.
I mean, it's still incorrect, but
Mm,
it's them not knowing what they're doing and hitting random buttons.
yeah, my concern is that you see it happening a lot still on international platforms where surely by then we should have a fairly close consensus as to what the rules are.
Yeah. Well, I often wonder about things like positioning of referees. I've seen a lot
Oh,
of high
yep,
level international comps, and I can see where the refs are. How can you possibly see what you need to see where you are?
yeah.
You know, obviously being there for the sake of the live stream and not getting in the way, but yeah, you can't possibly see what you need to see from there.
Yeah, see that you wouldn't happen. Would you be referring to a certain federation? Actually, I'll just say it. Um, IPF refereeing positions over the last few years and the way it's changed due to videoing really, really bothers me.
Yeah, I mean, they're certainly not the only ones who do it, but I see a lot where the refs are way out in front of the platform to side ref squats.
Yeah,
And I don't see how you can do that.
yep. Uh, I think if you got even a little basic understanding of physics, you'll understand why we're not seeing what we're trying to see from that position.
Mm.
Um, anyway, bloody IPF. Uh, where do you want to go from here? Do you want to should we
Um,
talk about the Fed stuff because like that's I've got it written down here, Fed dramas.
mm,
And I looked up the other day when I went to send you the message about this. I hadn't actually connected in my head that we'd spoken back in 2018, and the whole
mm.
reason that we were speaking at all was because you guessed it, Fed dramas. And so the Fed drama at the time, I think, must have been Powerlifting Australia and some activities or allegations of people, and we ended up being de-affiliated from everything.
Mm.
Yeah. So I'd actually totally forgot. So when people started referring to, oh, James Wakefield this and James Wakefield, like, oh, he seems like a nice guy. I should chat to him sometime. And lo and behold, we had chatted. Um, do you want to comment on because hang on, how to put it? Um, that was just after I'd finished up in powerlifting. And so my
Mm.
perspective on everything was wildly different to yours, because I think, what you said, you started in 2016 and that was about 2 years later. Um,
Mm.
so what did it look like to you? What was going on with the IPF and Powerlifting Australia?
Um, well, I mean, it's since then I've learned a couple of things, and we've learned things about people who were involved in making that decision. Um,
Yeah.
it changes my opinion a
Yeah.
little bit, but uh, I don't think that the underlying issues that led to PA being de-affiliated should have been issues in the first place, like the alleged extracurricular activities of people related to people who are running PA,
Hmm.
or the constitutional issues that were raised, that ended up with, I think, Court of Arbitration for Sports cases, and then the IPF deciding, well, this guy's making too much trouble and we need to get rid of him. But I mean, I guess maybe they had a point that it would have been impossible to remove him without removing PA,
Mm.
and Oceania. But yeah, it strikes me as something that should never have gotten to that point in the first place.
Yeah, okay. We definitely share that perspective of someone that was in the midst of it all, and watching it develop over the years. Yeah, it really was a ridiculous situation. Um, how did that sort of then inform your opinion now over the next few years of the IPF, and did you ever look at getting involved or interested in that side of the sport?
Well, I actually was involved with APU for a while,
Hmm.
and with APA for a minute. Um, and that was primarily because when APU started, the Victorian affiliate was PTC South Melbourne, and I was already friends with those guys from GPC, and they started running comps, and they needed people to help at comps, and through that, I realised that APU were very, very short of Victorian referees,
Hmm.
especially because the qualification pathway that they had meant that if you wanted to do nationals, you had to compete a lot. And most of the refs were also lifters, so you had situations where um, there were refs there, but they were competing because they had to compete.
Right.
Whereas I had no real interest in competing there, but I thought I'd give refereeing a crack. I thought that would be interesting, to see if I could ref under the IPF rules. And I think by that time, PTC South Melbourne had gotten out of APU, and Nathan Tannis was running the Victorian comps by then, and we were friends. And yeah, he needed people to help, so I helped out at his comps, and eventually qualified as an APU ref and refed a few times with APU, and then because APA then took over the IPF affiliation, I became an APA member, and refed a little bit there when APA started in Victoria.
Right. Okay. So how come you're not in? Why is your involvement no longer?
Couple of reasons. The first reason being that when APA started, um, the messaging was very much that we're not going to do any Article 14 type stuff other than what the IPF makes us do,
Right.
which I thought was good. Um, obviously, if you want to be affiliated with the IPF, you have to comply with the rules. But as long as you realise that, on principle, I don't think it's very good for the community. But yeah, as I said,
Yeah.
you have to do. You have to toe the line. So I thought that was okay. But then I heard something about to do nationals, you can't be a member of another Fed, which I thought was a bit weird because Article 14 doesn't say anything about membership. So I emailed the board and asked, hey, what's the go with this? And I had to email a few times before I got any real kind of response. And the response that I did get was, I would say, insubstantial and dismissive. And I thought,
Mm-hmm.
well, I'm only giving to this federation, and I don't feel like I don't feel like this would be a fair way to respond to any member at all. And it's certainly not the way that I would respond to a GPC member who was contacting the webmaster email and asking me a question.
Mm.
And I was also looking to manage my refereeing workload a bit better at the same time because by that time I'd become a capo referee. I was refereeing pro raw events. So I thought, well, I'll just drop this.
Yeah, I think that's a big loss for us. And when I say us, people that are in the current members of APA, and I think it. Yeah, I always, because of the history of Article 14 and where discussions tend to go, I'm always kind of reticent to bring it up. But I think it's an important discussion that we need to have, not in terms of trying to tear down tear tear stuff down,
Mm.
but I think it's important for us as members of various federations to say this is what the membership actually want. Like
Mm-hmm.
I think the rule is always kind of backwards. It's not a rule that benefits members. Or I can't.
Yep.
I shouldn't say that. Be so strong. I don't see how it benefits me as a member to not be a member of another federation.
Yeah, and I mean that's not even what Article 14 restricts either. It's just participation, which still is silly in my opinion.
Yeah. What do you think the answer is? Like the
Um,
answer, as if there's one answer, but
Ultimately, the answer is for people to make this a priority with their IPF affiliate and get them to take it to the General Assembly and other meetings and get the executive committee either to justify why it should be there or get rid of it.
yeah. Yeah. Do you follow the legal case of I think it's an Icelandic lifter that's pushing
Oh,
back?
you mean Sean Coke?
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah,
He's Swiss, yeah.
Swiss.
Yeah, I followed it reasonably reasonably closely. I don't think there's been any major developments lately.
Yeah, I know. In my time in lifting, it really only and bear in mind that there was two federations when I was lifting, and it was a very clear demarcation. Um, Capo and PA it was about drug testing, and that was it, really. Well, no, there's more to it than that, but that was the seemed to be the clear choice. Not that everyone at Capo was using PEDs, and not that everybody at Powerlifting Australia wasn't using PEDs. It was just you know a bit of transparency, and depending what city you're in, Capo and PA actually played quite nicely in some areas of this country and were quite supportive. Um, so I don't, yeah, I don't know where we go from splits within those splits as to how do we put the pieces back together, because from what I can see, this isn't working out well for the lifters, and all we've created over the last sort of 10 to 15 years is more federations controlled by a very limited few individuals.
Yeah, I think social media is got a part to play in it, for sure. Like, follow lifters from other federations and, you know, chat with them.
Mm.
They're just lifters, they're just people. Um, you know, what you're doing now with the podcast and having lifters on from different parts of the community, I think that's really important. Um, what else? I don't know.
So it is a. I think it is a very peculiar. It's very peculiar rule, um,
Mm.
and I think, like a lot of people, our lives as lifters and referees and volunteers uh, would be even more enjoyable if we got to do more weekends where we go to do the thing that we love doing. So I'm just thinking, if I was allowed to referee a few times a year rather than once or twice, I would have more fun. I like doing it. I like being involved. I get to see the community, meet new people. Um, from the community perspective, then, how do we kind of, you said social media, engage with other lifters, podcasts like this. How do you think we can do it in real practical terms, like in on the ground stuff?
Um, One thing that I've tried to encourage is people helping out at meets run by different federations.
Hmm.
I've got a loose group of friends that spot and load at a lot of different meets, and you know, there's people that'll spot and load at a capo meet one week, and then an APL meet the next week, and then an APA meet the next week after that,
Hmm.
3 weeks in a row. But you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Um, you know, and we share techniques across the different groups that we work with, and you know, hopefully then they create a positive association of, oh, that guy's a part of APL, and he showed me this thing, and that was really cool. Um, you know, maybe I'll help APL with this. You know,
Yeah.
rather
Right.
than,
So you said there's a crew that and they do APA events and other stuff as well.
I mean, it's not really a crew because some of them are in like Newcastle, and others are in Melbourne, and others are in
Right. Right.
across the country. But you know, we talk about techniques of general, you know, platform management and how to run comps.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I think the stum. So I'm sort of thinking it through as a APA
Sure.
member and going, well, yeah, that sounds like fun. Like how without resigning my membership, how do I get to do that? And that's the bit that really bothers me at the moment.
Yeah, I think the one thing that everybody can do that doesn't break any rules is talk and give advice.
Yep. I think the turning up one as well, possibly like just going to other competitions. Um,
Yep.
so yeah, because I think now with the competition schedules between three or four federations, you could almost go to two or three a month, couldn't you?
Yeah, I mean, if you're in a big city where there's a lot of comps going on, like Melbourne or Brisbane or somewhere like that, sure.
Yeah. Oh, definitely capital cities, right?
Yeah.
What's the frequency of comps out there in Geelong?
In Geelong, not very high.
Right.
Zero Weakness Geelong has just opened, and they're going to run an APL comp in November. Strong Geelong runs maybe 2 to 3 comps a year,
Hmm.
um, but we compete in Melbourne a lot.
Yeah, gotcha. All righty. So that's Fed dramas ticked off. Where do we want to go from here? Um, there's a couple of mutual friends
Mm-hmm.
that have been raised. First one was I got a message from you a while back when Brittany, I like her social media handle, was on here. What's the connection between you guys? Like, obviously, you're both sort of Melbourne or Geelong, whatever. Um,
Yeah,
you guys go back a bit.
one of the APU comps I refed, she was lifting at.
Mm.
Um, I think, yeah, we helped out at a couple of APU comps together. I think maybe I was reffing and she was on the score table. Um, she trains at Peninsula Barbell, which has a big contingent of GPC lifters who I know from GPC.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, that's pretty much the connection.
Ah, there you go. Um, give us your thoughts of her as a lifter, because I still
Oh,
haven't got to see her lift yet.
she's amazing. Um, I mean, how to describe it? She's very thoughtful and deliberate, I think, but also she's able to get in the zone when she needs to. Um, and the way she does that is very different to the way that I would do that, but it
Mm-hmm.
works.
How
Obviously, it
so?
works. Um, she seems like she's more about happy, joyful energy.
Hmm.
Um, listen to the happy music, have a dance, that sort of thing. I wouldn't do that.
You
I
know,
think that would work.
you're not a happy, dancy kind of guy.
No, I mean I'm not unhappy. I'm definitely not dancing.
Not dancy. So what's your method for getting in the zone?
Um, I try to I try to raise mental arousal, um, not so high that I lose control, but just so that it occupies my mind enough to prevent other thoughts and distractions. Um, and I try to have a cue, which is usually closing my belt, of at that point, I'm not going to really think conscious thoughts that would have an inner monologue, I guess. And I'm just going to do it. I'm
Oh,
just
I
going to
like
go
that.
and do it. It's all action. It's not. I'm not running through a procedural list of okay, I'm going to put my foot here and then I'm going to put the bar there and all that.
Yeah, have you ever hear those coaches from the sidelines that are literally yelling out and giving that step by step instruction?
Yeah.
Uh,
Um, it's always funny to me. It's like the time for that was 4 weeks ago, if ever.
right.
And honestly,
I've been saying this for years. Like if you need to tell your lifter how to walk out and you're at a comp, and it doesn't matter what level comp you're at, then they're not ready. Like back it off a little bit. Um,
I also love Sink It.
Sync it as
Yeah.
far as that's your cue.
No, no, no. I love. I find it amusing to hear coaches tell
Oh,
other lifters when I'm refereeing. Well, I was going to watch the depth anyway, but what
but
you told me, I'm going to watch it even harder.
yeah, it's like the you see lifters getting their butt chalked up or their anywhere where you put chalk is just for me is telling me okay that's what you're worried about, that's what I'm going to watch then. Like if you're
I
worried
also
about
want
it,
you to see the butt lift
right?
because it's
Yeah,
contrasting to that bench.
yeah, I was, and for me personally, I hated people coming anywhere near me with chalk for my back or my definitely not my glutes, but stay away from me. That shit itches later on. Um, Unfortunately, I was furry enough, and the bar was always hairy enough that I wasn't going to slide around. I don't need the chalk. Um, yeah, so sink it, and then the other one that I used to make fun of was people that yell up. I'm like, I wasn't going to go sideways, but thank you for yelling up, 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 up. That was really helpful. And it did spurn one of my best ever fundraisers, a T-shirt that something about roast beef sandwiches. Because I said it's basically the same thing. And Marcos did a couple of videos and yelled it out at his lifters at comp, just yelled out roast beef sandwich, and it seemed if you give it the right tone and volume, it's the same as yelling up. So who cares? But yeah, up and sink it, and the overly
I,
technical advice that alerts a referee to a big problem.
What's that?
So what's the advice that you hear, like the coaching instruction that just alerts you to this lifter has a problem, and I'm going to pay extra special attention?
Oh, hang on a second. My dog needs to get out.
All right.
I think one that I find amusing is wait for the commands.
Do does that make you laugh? Especially, sorry, makes that one makes me laugh as a center ref, because I was every time someone calls that out, I was about to call squat or start.
Mm.
And so it just makes their lifter wait even longer to get a start call while their coach is yelling out instructions. I'm like, I don't know. I feel like I shouldn't interrupt.
I tend to hear that when they're on the way to the platform, not so much when they're set up ready to go. But yeah, if they were doing that, then yeah, that would be a bit of a hindrance. But yeah, it does make me wonder how much training they did with commands.
Yeah. Do you think it's for the lifter or for the coach though?
I do think a lot of what's said is primarily for the coach's benefit to make them feel like they're doing something and to potentially justify to everybody else that when their lifter doesn't do it, then they can say, "Well, I told him to wait for the command, and he didn't, so it's on them."
Yeah, I've heard coaches talk that way. So yeah, pretty spot on.
Mm-hmm.
What were some of the other? Were there any other cues? So wait for the command, sync it.
Um, hmm. I don't think anything else really comes to mind as silly or notable or anything like that. I mean, most of it's pretty generic. You know, stay tight, chest up.
Chest up. Yeah, it does make me wonder. People coming into a powerlifting comp for the first time, some of the things that we yell at people in public, and quite often people that we've never met before, and go yelling instructions about what someone should do with their body, always interests me. Always very
Mm.
interested to know what the casual onlooker would think.
Mm. I haven't heard anybody yell "open your taint" at a comp yet. I have heard of the gym.
Yeah,
Um,
the one from it was East Side Barbell in Christchurch. They used to yell midnight because
oh yeah,
they weren't allowed to yell "fuck the bar."
mm-hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I've heard that. Um, there's one I just thought of. Um, oh, yeah, I've lost it. That's all right.
that reminded me. I had a cue that I worked out with a female lifter that we called Friday Night Lights. And just as she was
Mm.
walking out, she would sit on the bench. I just remind her one last time, and that was the cue to really pop her chest up high. Because what we talked about in training, or the cue that she came up with in training, I really wasn't comfortable calling out at junior nationals. Not going to happen. No. What's the other one? But yeah, all the cues are so generic, and I don't. Other than one cue once, which was at a competition in 2000 and I want to say 13 in New Zealand, I heard my training partner yell "head," and it was a
Mm.
simple enough cue that I pulled my head back and corrected the squat and locked it out. I don't remember any advice anybody's ever yelled at me of that generic stuff.
Mm. I always get a chuckle out of "don't be shit."
Well, it's practical advice for life, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Don't be shit. That really does sound. That's kind of, to me, sounds like it's come from a disciple of Robert Wilkes at some point. Some of Wilkes's feedback for lifters was just hilarious, like mean, but in a really funny way. And you know, it meant that when you got like neutral praise, it felt really good. Um, like I remember saying to Aaron Hawkins from Mildura, um, he looked at Hawkeye and said, "Yeah, that was slightly less pathetic than last comp." And Hawkeye's going, "Yeah, improvement. One day I'll just be shit." Um, so for me, having listened to Wilkes talk to his lifters like that for a couple of years, when it was when I benched 600 pounds for the first time in Newcastle, and I walked off, and he just said, "Yeah, that's a bench press." And it was so neutral that I've gone, that's the greatest praise I've ever received from Robert Wilkes. Him just saying, "Yep, that was a bench press." I go, "Oh, thanks, Robert. Appreciate it." Oh, wow. So we were talking in the break there. Joe from Open Powerlifting.
Mm.
Can you tell us how you got involved with that project?
Um, I don't remember exactly what led me to it, but it would have been around late 2017. I think I saw something on the site that was wrong, or that was missing, or something, and I sent in a help ticket or something and said, "Hey, this should be that. That's not how you spell that person's name," or something like that. And I did some research on what they were about, and I thought it sounded pretty cool. And I thought, given my um, programming background, that maybe I'd be able to contribute. And so I joined the team chat and gradually got more and more involved. And yeah, eventually led me to the point where now I'm handling most of the Australian Federation's comps.
Mm-hmm.
Rosie Wilson handles APA. Um, I'm sure you probably know her or have heard of her.
No, I haven't.
You know Evan McLeod?
Yes.
Yeah, his partner.
Oh, okay. Right. I met Evan for the first time at Equipped Nationals in Sydney a couple of months back, and I didn't. There was a lot of names flying around that day.
Yeah. Yeah, so she does APA, as I said, and I do most of the rest.
Mm-hmm.
A fella named Pierce used to do a lot of Australia, but unfortunately he passed away a few years ago. And yeah, I had to pick up some of his load.
Yeah, right. I love it as a project. I think it's what we needed in powerlifting for like forever. Just a way of grouping all the results together properly. Um,
Yeah, at the
Otherwise,
time,
I think we've relied for years on people. There's like Simon Ferry here in WA is a guy that most local lifters know, and he had like an encyclopedic knowledge of everything that everybody lifted ever. It seemed. He's like a walking open powerlifting, but you had to know him to find out all these results from the 70s and 80s and 90s to know where you fit overall. So I love now that there's a source where you can just track the whole lot of it. It's great.
yeah. Before Open Powerlifting, of course, there was Powerlifting Watch. I don't know if you ever
That was
used that.
that was pretty. That had a lot of missing pieces.
Yeah, and it had ads, and there was rankings that you had to pay for access to.
That's
I
right. Yeah.
understand
Yeah.
to run the thing, and that's how Michael chose to get that money. But yeah, when I wasn't there when Open Powerlifting started, but when it started, Sean, the guy who started it, decided that there wasn't going to be ads, and it wasn't going to be paywalled, and that we were going to keep the lights on via donations, so by Patreon, which is what we do,
Hmm.
and that we also weren't going to editorialize results. So as long as it wasn't conducted completely against the rules of the federation. Like uh, if the federation says you use a 25 kilo squat bar, but you use a 20 kilo power bar, but you report the weights as if you used a 25 kilo squat bar, well, then that would be a problem. But otherwise, we wouldn't do what Powerlifting Watch did a couple of times where they wouldn't recognise squats from certain federations because they were passing a lot of high squats at the time.
Yeah, that'd be the SPF, wouldn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, I think it was. Yeah,
yeah, I
I
remember.
couldn't remember if they'd done it with other federations as well, but yeah, once you start working, it's very hard to um, remain a useful source of information.
Yep. Where is Powerlifting Watch today?
I think Michael Sung actually passed away a few years ago, and I don't think it exists anymore.
Oh wow. Because to be honest, I haven't even thought of that name for over a decade. But for a
Mm,
while there, like everybody talked about what was on Powerlifting Watch. It
yeah,
was about the only news source that we had in powerlifting for a while.
yeah. I think Michael started out doing the powerlifting USA rankings after Herb Glossbrenner stopped.
Right.
Um, yeah,
Yeah, I remember getting I remember getting information from Powerlifting USA back in the day as well, but it would normally be maybe 2000, January 2003, and I'd get the March 2002 edition.
yeah.
Straight off the shelves, hot off the presses. What was the other thing I was going to ask you about? Did we cover it? Can't remember.
Um, uh,
Yeah, it was
open
definitely open powerlifting. Um,
Joe? Joe Whiteley?
oh yeah, Joe. Have you guys
Yeah,
ever crossed paths at all?
not in person. No.
Right. She's awesome, man.
Yeah, she does a lot of responding to requests for lifters saying can you I can't see this result in my page, and can you add it please? And she says, no, well, the format's no good. Can
Mm-hmm.
you please give us a spreadsheet format? And or I'm married and my name's changed and stuff like that. Yeah, she handles a lot of that stuff.
Yeah, cool. I've really enjoyed the last two bench worlds, getting to know
Mm.
Joe a little bit, mostly because of the Australian connection there with the YouTube broadcasters.
Mm.
And that's right. Her coach was at her first bench worlds was the first one that I didn't attend, and so she was
Yeah.
coached by Mark Giles as well. Um, and who was the guy that always looked after me overseas because I was the only Australian at those meets, and
Yeah.
nobody wanted to come. So I hang out with the Great Britain guys. Oh, that's cool. It's cool to close that circle then.
Yeah.
Just looking at the time, I've taken up a fair chunk anyway, and I think we've mostly covered the things that people would within the powerlifting community hopefully would expect us to cover.
Yeah.
Um, really good chatting with you, man. I really, quite sincerely, appreciate the work you do, both within the community and for the community. I think powerlifting in Australia just needs a whole bunch of people a bit more like you, to be honest.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome.
And
And
likewise.
I think that focus on community and remembering that for most of us, we're not here to make money. We're not building a business. We're not securing our mortgage. This is fun, and we need to remember that it is fun, and the more of us doing it together I think, is the way we can have the most fun.
Absolutely.
Hmm. Oh man, thank you very much.
No worries. Thank you.